Officer Tyler Grant's body cam captures the moment he crosses the threshold of the open front door. Did he have a warrant or consent to enter the house? The timestamp shows 7:23 a.m. A Ring camera on the house across the street records the entire porch. The microphone on a smartwatch inside the house activates automatically because of the loud voices. Chief Federal Judge Eleanor Brooks is standing 2 steps from the door. A cup of coffee is steaming in her left hand. Her running jacket is still slightly damp at the cuffs. Officer Tyler Grant is standing on the doorstep. Officer Ryan Cole stands half a step behind him and to the side. 2 patrol cars are parked diagonally across the driveway. The lights on top of the cars are still on. Grant looks inside the house. He says, "Ma'am, who are you in this house?" Brooks sets the coffee cup down on a table by the door. She says, "This is my house." Cole takes a step forward. He says, "We received a report about a suspicious person." Brooks holds the door halfway open. She says, "State your legal basis." Grant does not show any papers. He reaches out and lightly touches the door frame. The body cam records the view from chest level. Cole looks at the nameplate next to the doorbell. The name Eleanor Brooks is fixed in brass. He says, "You actually live here?" Brooks doesn't answer the question. She asks for their badge numbers. Grant doesn't provide them. The smartwatch mic records the sound of shoes on the hardwood floor. The distance between Grant and Brooks is now 1 step. Cole stands off to the side, toward the living room. Grant says, "Step outside so we can verify." Brooks stays where she is. "Inside the house," she says. "You do not have my consent to enter." Grant puts his right foot over the threshold. The toe of his shoe touches the living room's hardwood floor. An indoor camera records a wide angle from the ceiling. Cole follows right behind him. The distance between the 2 officers is now half a step. The front door is still open behind them. Brooks takes 2 steps back. She picks up her phone from the table by the door. The screen lights up, showing it's in video recording mode. Grant reaches for the phone. He said, "Stop recording." The indoor security system was still running. The cloud backup showed a syncing icon. Cole walked toward the dining table. He opened the first drawer on the right. No papers were presented. No search warrant was read. Grant said, "We need to verify residency." Brooks stood near the stairs. She said, "Call your supervisor." Grant didn't use his radio to call. Cole didn't touch the radio on his shoulder. The body cam clearly showed both his hands were free. The Ring camera on the porch recorded the open door. In the neighborhood group chat, a message sent at 7:25. Police at Eleanor's house. Grant took another step into the living room. The distance between him and Brooks was 2 meters. The coffee cup was still on the table by the door. Cole looked around the room. He touched a picture frame on the shelf. No consent from the homeowner was recorded. Grant turned his head and looked toward the back door. He said, "Is anyone else inside?" Brooks stood still near the bottom of the stairs. She didn't move toward them. The indoor camera clearly recorded the entire living room. The sound of shoes on the floor was recorded clearly. No one else appeared in the frame. Grant stepped all the way into the center of the room. Cole stood near the dining table on the left. The front door behind them was still open. Brooks held her phone at chest level. The screen showed the recording icon. The cloud backup continued to sync data. Grant held his hand out in front of him, as if signaling to stop. No warrant was presented. No verbal consent was confirmed. Cole looked back at the nameplate in the living room. The name Chief Federal Judge Eleanor Brooks was engraved on a framed certificate on the wall. He didn't comment on it. Grant turned back toward Brooks. He stood 2 steps away from her. The body cam was still recording continuously. Brooks placed her phone on the table near the stairs. The device continues to record from a low angle. Grant takes another step deeper into the living room. Grant takes another step deeper into the living room. The body cam clearly shows the 6-foot distance between him and Chief Federal Judge Eleanor Brooks. Cole stands off to the left, near the dining table. The front door behind them is still open. The ceiling camera records the whole scene. Brooks keeps her distance. The phone is on the table near the stairs. The screen still shows that it's recording. The data sync icon is still lit up. Grant looks around the living room. He doesn't show any papers. He doesn't read a search warrant. He doesn't give a report number. Brooks says, "You're in my house." Grant doesn't answer that. He walks toward the hallway on the right. He's 3 steps from the kitchen door. Cole opens the second drawer of the dining table. The sound of sliding wood is recorded clearly. No items are seized. No report is filed on site. Grant says, "We're just checking on something." Brooks is standing near the stairs. She doesn't move from that spot. The camera shows she's more than 3 feet from the 2 officers. Grant walks into the kitchen. He opens the upper cabinet to the left of the sink. The cabinet door makes a soft thump against the wall. Cole follows 2 steps behind. He looks into the office on the right. The office door is halfway open. Brooks says, "I do not consent to a search." Grant doesn't stop. He walks into the office. The body cam records a view across the wooden desk. A federal certificate hangs on the wall. The name Chief Federal Judge Eleanor Brooks is clearly visible. The date of appointment is printed in the bottom right corner. Cole stands by the office doorway. He looks at the bookshelf on the left. No unusual objects are noted. Grant says, "Anyone else in the house?" Brooks is standing out in the hallway. She didn't go into the office. The distance between her and Grant was about 12 feet. The indoor mic picked up footsteps. No one else answered. A third person did not appear in the frame. Grant opened the desk drawer. He looked through a set of neatly arranged files. No search warrant had been read. Cole turned back toward the living room. He glanced at the front door, which was still open. The ring camera on the porch recorded an empty view. Brooks said, "Call your supervisor. Right now." Grant didn't use the radio on his shoulder. Cole didn't touch his radio. The body cam showed the device was still securely mounted. Grant left the office. He walked past Brooks in the hallway. They were about 3 feet apart. Cole said, "We're going to need to see some ID." Brooks didn't provide any ID. She held her position near the staircase. The phone on the table was still recording. Grant walked toward the table where the phone was. He picked the device up with his right hand. The screen showed that it was still recording. Brooks said, "You are not to touch that phone." Grant gave the device a slight shake. The video in the frame shook. The ceiling camera continued to record the entire scene. Cole stood in the middle of the living room. He looked at a nameplate on a framed certificate. No comments were recorded. Grant placed the phone back down on the table. The device continued to record from a low angle. The cloud backup was still active. Brooks took 1 step backward. She maintained a fixed distance of about 6 feet. There was no physical contact. Grant turned toward the front door. He said, "If I see you here again." Cole stood near the door. He looked out to the driveway where 2 patrol cars were parked diagonally. Grant continued, "You will be arrested for trespassing." Brooks did not respond to that. She walked into the office. The hallway camera records her taking 3 steps. Grant stands in the middle of the living room. He looks toward the open office door. The body cam clearly records the quiet scene. Brooks returns after a few seconds. She is holding a stack of dark blue cards. There's a federal seal on the face of the cards. She places the stack of cards on the living room table. The name and title are clearly visible in the frame. The ceiling camera records a close-up of the object on the tabletop. Grant stands one step from the table. He looks down at the cards for 3 seconds. Cole takes half a step back toward the door. No words are recorded during that time. The microphone only picks up the sound of the ceiling fan. Grant stands up straight. He doesn't touch the cards. Cole holds his position near the front door. Brooks is standing behind the table. The distance between her and the 2 officers is more than 6 feet. The front door is still open to the driveway. The body cam continues to record the entire living room. The body cam is still recording as Officer Tyler Grant stands one step from the table. The stack of federal cards is in the middle of the frame. Officer Ryan Cole stands near the front door. The door is still open to the driveway. Grant looks at the cards for a few seconds. He takes half a step back. Cole opens the door wider. No further search takes place. No items are confiscated. The ceiling camera continues to record the entire living room. Grant says, "We'll be leaving." The 2 officers walk out of the house. Their shoes hit the wood floor, then the cement stoop. The ring camera records them walking across the porch. Brooks is standing in the living room. She does not follow them to the door. The phone on the table is still recording. 2 patrol cars leave the driveway 3 minutes later. The lights on top turn off as the cars go out of frame. The neighborhood group chat continues to show new messages. 30 minutes later, Brooks is sitting at her desk. Her laptop is open to a video call screen. She called the FBI Civil Rights Division directly. The name Special Agent Megan Shaw appeared on her screen. Brooks said, "I have the full footage." 2 hours later, a federal car parked in front of the house. Special Agent Megan Shaw walked in with Assistant U.S. Attorney Daniel Harper. They brought data storage equipment with them. The cameras inside the house were still recording as they checked the system. The cloud backup was copied onto an external hard drive. Shaw reviewed the entire footage in the living room. Harper took notes on timestamps and behavior. They took pictures of the dispatch log from that morning. Dispatch confirmed there was no report of a suspicious person. The radio log showed no calls for this address. 3 weeks later, a federal grand jury was convened. Grant and Cole received subpoenas. They appeared in federal court on a Monday morning, not in uniform. An attorney stood next to each of them. The prosecutor played the original footage, unedited, uncut. The timestamp clearly showed every minute. Grant crossed the threshold at 7:23. No warrant was presented in any frame. Cole opened a dining table drawer during the 6th minute. There was no verbal consent on the recording. The grand jury voted to indict. Grant faced 7 federal charges. Cole faced 6 federal charges. The trial began 6 months later. The courtroom was packed. The press was in the back rows. The footage was played on a large screen. The audio captured every word clearly. Grant said, "If I see you here again," Grant continued, "you'll be arrested for trespassing." The dispatch log was shown next. No report was ever entered into the system. 3 former officers testified about previous complaints. Internal records showed 12 complaints against Grant, 9 against Cole. The jury deliberated for 8 hours. The verdict was read on Wednesday afternoon. The court clerk says, "Guilty on all counts." Grant stands still when he hears the verdict. Cole looks down at the table in front of him. The sentencing hearing is 2 months later. Federal Judge Michael Carter presides. He says, "Defendant Tyler Grant, 15 years in prison." Grant is led out of the courtroom. His hands are cuffed behind his back. The judge continues, "Defendant Ryan Cole, 12 years in prison." Cole is also led out through a side door. 3 weeks after the criminal sentencing, the city reaches a civil settlement with Brooks. The amount, $12 million. is made public over the next 12 months. The city pays out another $38 million for other lawsuits. The Department of Justice imposes a 5-year consent decree. All patrol policies must have federal oversight. Body cams are made mandatory for all citizen interactions. A civilian review board is established. Independent investigative power is written into its charter. The mayor submits his resignation. The police chief announces his retirement a week later. Grant is transferred to a federal facility out of state. Cole is also transferred 10 days later, 3 years after the incident. The footage is used in training at the FBI Academy. The video is preserved with its time and audio intact. Brooks continues to work at the federal courthouse. The certificate still hangs in his office. The home security cameras are still running. The federal case file is closed. The judgment final. I look at this chain of events as a complete procedural record. Every change came from the record, from the documented behavior. What do you think would have happened if there were no cameras that day? If you found this valuable, please share and leave a comment. Subscribe to Power Misplaced Stories